Well, greetings everybody. My name is Lautaro. I am one of the hosts of this event, and I'll talk about Terreta Hub. What? Terreta Hub. Yeah. Now, the concept of this is to become an international club, but the idea is to make it local in every place that it becomes. So, Terreta is a name chosen because it's something that represents people in Valencia. Terreta Hub, or any other hub which matters, will compose of the other one. 6 main verticals. It's either law, art, technology, finance, health, and community. I will give a brief explanation about each of them and then to see how they intertwine each other in order for the projects that has been already been made or worked on from the people within this community. Law is really simple. It goes from, as it's an international group, most of the people came with international things, or let's say, when you begin with immigration problems. You came here, in Spain particularly, you need an IE, you need how to open a bank, and then you go forward in how to set up a company or how to you make that company set up in the ENISA regulation here in Spain that makes the modification between having a company or having a startup company. The thing with having a startup is the perks that you have regardless of that. Arts and education is we need courses and seminars in order for people to start knowing about these technologies or these new things that are coming around. Digital seminars and physical courses in order for people. The people in the community are specialists in different regards. So you have either the options to start teaching other people or to know about different subjects that you don't know about. Tech is self-explanatory. And health goes along it. When you start being an entrepreneur, I found out that something that you really relegate within yourself is the health. Either the body, the mind, or the soul, it's something that you don't take into consideration until something bad happens. And I think that it's great to have a preventive type of mentality related to that in order to know how to stop when you need to stop, how to have help when you need to have help. Even if it's physical activities, we are planning on doing some things. I'll explain further when I speak about events, mental health, do some coaching, do some mindfulness. There's things that helps around, and people within the community, they're either coached that know how to seek a guide, or people that just need some help related to health situations. Okay, I'll explain 3 projects that are being built by the community right now. The first is an audiovisual film. It's called The Photographer. It's already funded. The first scene is already being recorded, but that's just the art aspect of it. As I say, there's different subjects that are being intertwined between different technologies. The thing I want to talk about most of this, about the project, is that, it doesn't work here, is the distribution strategy and a new type of IP management. Something that Tom mentions before is that not only, everything can be tokenized by itself. Distribution, forget about this now. IP as itself, the intellectual property, is a legal right that is structured among the laws in every country. There's 3 main subjects in every international thing that, at least in every country that believes in IP management. You have copyright, that is when the owner of the IP is the one who decides what is going to be made with that IP. The best example of this is Disney. Well, Mickey Mouse not so far as last year, but The Simpsons. You cannot make a movie about The Simpsons without the delegation of the rights by the owner of it. Contrary of copyright is public domain. Public domain is when the owner by itself releases the IP to every member of the audience, every member of the world, or when enough time has passed since the moment of the releasing of the thing. The best example of this is the Shakespeare books. You can make a movie with any of the Shakespeare movies because they already lost the IP rights among it. And there's the point in the middle that is Creative Commons, that it's, how to explain this? Law always go far below technology. Technology advance, and then the lawyers create the laws among that. The last 10 years, 5 years, tech has been advanced at an exponential levels. And law itself hasn't been updated related to IP management since the 80s. This movie is going to be made by members of the community. As I say, it's already funded, it's being created. I believe, by being a little optimistic, that it will be released on cinemas in June, July maybe. All the distribution channels will also use the new technologies. We can publish it on social media and whatever gives us money afterwards. But the thing is that members that are being members that are building this. And the community by itself will have a special type of IP management of the movie by itself. This will be the first creation that we are holding. There's some other concepts that are being thinking after this will be released. Another project that was also mentioned by Tom is the investment through blockchain in energy things. There is a project being made by members of the community that aims to tokenize either petroleum or petcoke that is a derivative of petroleum. This is being created, the developer we are at the early beginning stages of the development, the smart contracts are being created, and some IP that will be connected with the shipping industry. Strategic alliances are already being made with some ships from South America and some ships from America mostly, but this is being in the stage of development related to the tech. The idea of this is to tokenize assets that will be holding related to energy investments. And well, let's go back to the community. The idea of the hub is to divide community between two different aspects, online and offline. Hybrid events, like events in person like this one, just networking events or just some pitching networks or whatever people decide to build upon what we are creating. If you people want bigger events, we can host them. If you want some adventures outgoings, we are planning on some hikings afterwards. And related to cultural gatherings, I am already telling you this, but well, when the climate gets better, I'm hosting an asado in Port de Sagunto. You are all invited, men pay, women free. This will host. It's an asado. This will be. The idea was to make this in February, but I was told that February is really cold in Valencia, so I say, okay, we can do this in March. It will have the same event. Like, it's not only an asado, it will be a networking event. There are some people, so I know that practice yoga, they want to teach it, and as it will be in the aerial space, you all are going to be invited. The idea of this is to just create a hub that has different specialty, the people, everybody has something to bring, and that the club by itself can gather some resources and give back to the people. These things will be planned related to what people want and what's among the resources that we have. For example, I have the idea of creating a hackathon. I need more developers to do so. The developers right now in the team, they are building their projects, they are working in interesting things, and I'm meeting some newcomers that they might want to be interested in a hackathon because they are either studying or they are having their first job or having the first interviews for the first job. So if we can create something that will give them real experience, and so if you either have a company and you need people working on that, I think we can do these things around. And then there's the digital ecosystem. Digital will be also divided into two. I think a more real one. Some people here are more into marketing, are more into art, are more into being on social media and whatnot. I think that if you are building a product, having an already base users and people interested in showing what you are doing in different ways, because sometimes you will find that your target audience is not what you were expecting for. But maybe you are planning on creating a B2B system, but somehow that really helps students, and you got some young students with a big audience that are using your product. Maybe you never thought about that, but having an audience by itself that is eager to use what you are producing, I think it's within the idea of the hub. There's another concept that I've seen around lately within the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and it's the concept of building in public. It's hard to be anonymous and creating things on your own, and you kind of need of an audience if you're doing something. Unless you have the resources and the money to do it on your own, you need to show yourself. So the idea is also to have a hub that you already have people to show what you are doing. They will test what you are using, and I mean, if you are doing things correctly, it will spur on the virality of the things. But that's the human concept of digital ecosystem, not just a group of influencers that will repost what you are doing, but actually people using it. And then we have the digital autonomous agents. We are creating within the team some, how to explain this, fake people working. These are digitally created. We are working on integrating them into social media and to give them a voice, to give them a message, train them within what you want them to tell, and just to release them on the market. This, yes, will be a little more faker than before. This is just fake users for your protocol, but I mean, this is what's being built right now. It's not that hard as far as I believe right now. I thought it was really hard. I'm not a seasoned developer, but I tried some of these, and at least I have a bot posting on Twitter right now. I'm having some problem with the creating voice and setting up some APIs, but it's coming forward. As I say, I'm not the tech in the business, but more people joining around, this thing will be grow further. And the idea is once you created one, you are freely to create the others. Like just create the machine for autonomous agents. As I say, this will be far more fakers than the people using your product by itself, but I don't know, it's the time we are living right now. Well, and now I will explain further related to the tokenization of real estate. As I said previously, tokens is something that represents something from above. It's to have an idea and to represent them physically by something that is not the token by itself. This is a control remote, and I cannot make this a token of a control remote. But this could be a token for something completely different from what it truly is. In the digital aspect of it is we created code, and whatever I'm going to take right now about tokenized real asset and whatnot, this technology has existed for over 5 years in different parts of the world, for instance, part of this world at least. And it's coming to Spain and to Europe in the last couple of years, especially to Spain in the last 2 years. There has been some companies that are starting to doing this. The law already exists. It has changed since 2 years ago. But this is something that, as I say, it exists. The idea of this is you have a place. It can be any place of real estate. It can be a home. It can be a building. It can be a finca, whatever. You can make a representation of that real estate into some tokens, into any blockchain. It doesn't matter what blockchain you pick. It doesn't either have to be a blockchain. We'll use blockchains because that technology helps us, but you can actually make that in an Excel form. Like, it's not necessary to integrate new technologies. Yes, it is true, and most of you, I understand, they know about blockchain. It helps you with the transparency of the situation. You have some security, depending on the proof of work that they use. You can transact them, you can sell them on secondary markets. There's a lot of benefits of using the blockchain. That's why every type of tokenization has remained in one or different blockchain networks. You tokenize a real asset. As it works right now in Spain, at least with the old law, you tokenize a debt. There's some companies doing this right now. They emit a debt, they tokenize it, you buy a fraction of that debt, and they are obliged to do things related to buying a home, refactoring, selling, whatever they want with it. But you are the owner of a piece of debt. That is how it's been working for the last 10 years around the world and the last 5 years in Spain. Law has changed. They made some requirements in which some requisites in the law make it impossible to tokenize an asset by itself. But I hear rumors, to say the least, that in the next 6 to 8 months, there will be some real agents that are going to be permitted to do the tokenizations of real assets. Once that becomes, the concept is really simple. There is a real estate property, and that will be fractionalized. The people who own the tokens will own a share percentage of that same assets.
But this is not the share of a company?
It's not like the share of a company. I mean, you can think that it's kind of related to that. It's like a codomain. This is a really concept common in the United States, for example, el condominio, that there is a home, there's 10 people that owns that place. It's not that you own, let's not use a home, let's use a hotel as an example of a building. There is a building with 10 departments within it. If you own a 10% of it, it's not that you own one of the places, but you either own 10% of everything. Un fideicomiso in Spanish, leisures in English. It's not like the assets of a company, because in most of the case you don't have either a vote on what is deciding, and because you don't have an assembly team, there is not a board director, there's just a contract that defines everything, unless you have a holding of houses, and then you can set that as a company. But the tokenization by itself has really big difference within a company. But it is true that you own a share of it. You own 10% of the tokens of a place. If that place increases value, is being sold, you own 10% of the price of sold, deducted taxes. If the place is being rented, then you are owned 10% of the rent of that property by itself. It has another benefits too. Well, one of the big problems here in Spain, especially for young people, is the impossibility of buying a house. This will let, I mean, there are several companies doing this. I do not believe that buying 100 euros of a company, of a house, I think that's kind of misleading, but if you have the opportunity of buying 10%, 15% of a home, you can talk your way into finding a place of living and paying it as if you were having a mortgage, for example. That the owners of the token, you can sign everything by contract. And the important thing within, well, I would say smart contracts because that's the word used in blockchain, but for me they are neither smart and they are not contracts, but that's the way what it is. You can define it whatever you want. The thing I want to do within the community is giving the option of buying a home. The community itself can own all the shares of the homes, but the people that are going to buy in it, they will be the owner of it. You start by a 10%, by a 15%, but at the end of a period of time, you can be the owner of your own home. That's one of the biggest problems I'm seeing here in Spain is the impossibility for the locals for buying it. Unnecessary because the amount of money that they are paying on the rent, it's even higher than the mortgage by itself. There will be options, and I think that not only just for the sake of being a philanthropic, helping the people, I think that this will be aligned with the movements of the governments are doing right now. On the other way around, for example, people, different countries here in Europe, they are talking about the idea of forbidding people from outside of the US, of the European Union, on buying properties, for example. This could help other people to invest in homes without owning less than 15% of the shares of a home, let's say shares of a home. If you want, instead of buying a place for 100K, you can have 20% shares of 5 different places, and you are not going against the potentially new laws that are coming to different countries in Europe. Well, these are the benefits of tokenization, but I think Tom already talked about them. It's really accessibility in the regards that you can buy them from anywhere as long as you have internet and you are playing on a place that is not forbidden by local governments. I mean, if you are looking into buy from Iran, it will be impossible, but it will be impossible to do anything from Iran right now. The liquidity, that means if this market grows as we all believe it's going to grow, you can have far more easy situations in which you can sell your share of a company or anything that is tokenized by itself, of a home, of the IP management, whatever. If things start being tokenized by itself, the liquidity will come by itself in that regard. Secondary markets will open in no places, in no time, and you can just simply sell it on open markets by nothing. Transparency, that's coming again with the blockchain. It's a public notebook in which everybody can check whatever is whatever is being done in the blockchain by itself. You have all the accountability, and everything related to the smart contracts are easily saw. I mean, it's hard to read if you're not a developer, but if you're invested enough money, you can just hire any developer to see it. Or if not, if it's a big community by itself, developers will start reading into this, and if problem arise, you will know it. Well, I think that's all. Related to tokenization of real assets, if you have any questions, I can start asking.
But you know, there's a huge problem here, and it's called tax.
Well, yes.
Because if you have a token and use of the token, it's a little bit complicated to follow the tracks to ask this person to pay the tax, the 10% of the value of the server.
I mean.
So I don't know how this works with the tax thing.
With this, you will just have to pay the
same tax as right now.
The same tax as right now, the gaining tax. The thing is, even if this is, how to say, blockchain is not anonymous. Blockchain is the contrary of it. Everything is public, everything is transparent. Related to real assets, and some especially like buying a house, it will require to make some KYT, know your transactions. You cannot accept money from wallets that are compromised. You need to check them, use the real service that are really legislated and operating in Europe, in which you can check if that wallet was compromised because it's I don't know, sanctioned because they were from Russia, or they were sell and buy from other wallets that are related to, I don't know, drugs or child pornography, whatever.
We have a buyer from Russia buying through Binance, and we have that, and we do it.
You can do it. You need to know your KYT because I say the thing with Hacienda specifically, but with any fiscal government, is that First, they are retroactive. It's not, you might be hiding within the, for now or in 2 years or in 5 years, but sooner or later they will catch up. And they are probably, between the service of intelligence, the fiscal governments are the one with the highest stakes, with the bigger professionals, they will catch up. The low IT is a necessity. If there's a client from Russia, I mean, it's not the client by itself, it's the wallet what you need to check. If the wallet is clean, then it is clean. And if it's using Binance or other of the biggest exchanges network, because I try with KYT, wallets from Binance, they are all forbidden because they come from Binance by itself. You have, if you check the list, it's like a dozen of things, everything they are compromised. But then Binance has this responsibility among them because we can delegate it into them. But there is come a client with a personal wallet and you check them and it's compromised by itself. I mean, you can do it, but you can get into problems. Within real estate specifically, there's a lot of laws that need to follow. Because, for example, as right now, you can buy properties using blockchain money on Spain regularly. You can buy a house using Bitcoin. You need to go to a notary, you need to sign a contract like it's a regular contract, and you need to write it in the notary by itself in the prices in euro. Even if the client paid with 2 Bitcoins, it doesn't matter. The price on the contract should say, the client buy with 2 Bitcoins at the current price, at the current value of 2,000K. That client, that wallet, that everything needs to be registered. They need to go to a notary, and the wallet needs to be checked in the same regard that if you are making a bank transaction, that bank transaction is being checked too. Because if the money came from a sanctioned country, from forbidden business, from people that are not allowed specifically to buy real estate for whatever reason necessary, you cannot operate with them. Same with all the tokenization aspects. This company by itself, the idea of tokenizing assets, right now we have some properties in Sagunto that are places to be tokenized.
I need to ask for the name of this notary because I don't know any notary who let you to do that, for sure.
I mean,
I speak with several of them and they say, I don't want to know nothing about that.
I know one company, 2 companies that are doing that in Spain. I don't know which notaries.
It's a company who received the money,
yes.
The crypto,
yes.
And he swapped to a euros. So it's not the notary, it's a company in the middle.
Yes, an exchange service.
That's it.
Yes, I understand. I worked for one for a couple of months ago. You can do it. I mean, in that same, you are just buying the home in euros. It's the same situation. It's like that. Even though the exchange must report that every transaction in the blockchain, because how do you get the 2,000K? No, by selling Bitcoin. Where do you sell the Bitcoin? In that case, it is true. It's the same way. The only problem in doing so is that well, you are into real estate, I guess, or most of the people here are. Okay, but the expenses that you have, like the notary, for example, you can deduct after when you sell. When you sell, you pay taxes to the RWA by selling, and you can deduct the notary. You can deduct whatever expenses are necessary. The transaction fee of changing between euros to blockchain, to Bitcoin or vice versa, that's not deductible by itself. That amount that you paid it. It's the facility of owning in blockchain. As right now, I met some people that are willing to sell their homes using Bitcoin mostly. I know a few that just want to the house, reduce the value of the house in paper and receive some pay. That's not advised. They are doing it. But there are others that want to make the contract in Bitcoin by itself. It is possible. It's hard to find a notary to do so. I know 2 companies that are making that in Spain, Inmo Crypto and Casa Crypto.
I know Inmo Crypto.
They are the 2 biggest ones. I guess they have some contacts within them, but it's a matter of time. It's just to, there's not a notary here, I guess so, but in the next event there's a notary here, I'm willing to teach them in order to make some business in the future. If anybody here knows a notary, I'm willing to teach them, you might know. I could teach them, I have no problem. That's part of the hope by itself. I'm an expert in some areas of knowledge, especially law. I'm a lawyer myself. That's why I love so much about IP. I could talk about IP management for half an hour without a problem right now. Me, it's not that I'm just a Socratic teacher by the sake of knowledge that I want you to know everything. It's that by you knowing some of the things that I already know by myself, we can do better business in the future. In the same regard, I know that I can learn a lot about you, about different subjects that I might be interested in, or maybe some other people, but that's the concept of all of it that we are building. As far now, I will, as I say, Terreta Hub is a place for conduct business, to be an entrepreneur, to solve the different problems that we have that starting from the bottom, whatever are your resources, where you're from, what do you want, what do you care for, there's play for anybody as long as you are willing to give and if you know what you are going to receive in the middle. And that's it. If you have more questions.
So I think that at the end we are not that free, because
we are not even close to be free, mate.
No. So if I have like Bitcoin from a long time ago, I'm going to demonstrate where my Bitcoin comes from, where my Ethereum comes. If I have to go from one wallet to another wallet, to an exchange, to another exchange, to another wallet. So I can buy a house using Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything.
I mean, it depends on the country and how least they are to the people that are doing so, and how much the countries wanna be meddling into your own business. Here in Europe is famous for being a regulatory continent, and they are making even more and more regulations.
But for the tax agency,
I can do it in Venezuela.
the value of the Bitcoin you bought is zero. So if you want to prove that that is a regular money, it's no money laundering, something like that, the value for the tax agency here is zero. So you have a profit from the zero to the value of this crypto.
Yeah. You can fight about that.
You have to pay taxes over there, and then you have to buy the flat. So it's a little bit tricky.
Maybe. I mean, it depends either if you buy the crypto, well, if you receive it too, or if you mine it. If you mine it, there is no one knows what's going to be around, because it could be either from the zero moment, because it costs you nothing except electricity, and it's difficult to set what's the price of Bitcoin at the determinant time, because Bitcoin doesn't have a price. But yeah, we can see charts and Bitcoin going up and down, but it depends on who's buying and who's selling and where. There's arbitrage opportunities everywhere. Bitcoin could be 100K here and 98 in China. It's difficult. If you bought it in an exchange, for example, from a broker, if you have the transactions record within it, you pay taxes from the difference between the buy value and the sell value, deducted the commissions that you pay to the broker. It's really hard. This is really new, and nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. From most perspectives, as I say, Europe is going to be a mostly regulatory system, that they want to meld into your business a fuck a lot.
Yeah. You heard about we're not going to talk about politics, but
yeah,
took in Davos.
Yes, that's what I had in mind. Actually, I didn't want to say, but yes.
No one's going to listen to him.
Yes, but they are the ones that makes the law, and if you want to make these things in the proper way, it's either this or sell drugs. So no, I mean, I'm optimistic on the future. This technology already exists, and this can be applicable to anything. IP is probably the one I like the most, because I'm really into producing things, into making movies, like a hobby or something that is on my passion. But anything can be tokenized. Real asset is something that solves real problems on people that cannot buy, that they are not allowed to invest in real estate. And the more people invest in real estate, the harder it is from the people that are coming from the bottom. People 10 years ago, it was easier to just have a regular job and you can prospect yourself into, oh, I will get married, I will have a home, I will have children. As right now, if you listen to people in their 20s, in their 30s, unless they have a youth heritage or a magnificent job, most of them are thinking of the worries of renting a place, or that I cannot rent in my home anymore, so I need to go to another town that is 60 kilometers from where I live because it's cheaper, or I need to go to another country. That's something that is happening everywhere in the world. I do believe that tokenization by itself, if it's done properly, can help people, and this will also increment the value over time, because properties are going to increment their values regardless of anything. They always go beyond inflation in every country in the world, unless something bad really happens, like something explodes, homes goes up, and they go up beyond inflation.
Can you go more deep into how can teenager or something buy with tokens real estate? And
teenager cannot.
To the normal.
I mean, if you operate on a decentralized way, you can do it without asking anybody permissions. Actually, one of the perks of being blockchain is that it's permissionless. I mean, you can tokenize real assets like a home and do it in a decentralized way in which any person can buy it, even if it comes from sanctioned country, even if it's a teenager, whatever. I won't do it because you are messing with homes and regulators will go into this before anything before. For a teenager to buy things like tokens by itself, not this specifically, but tokens by itself, they just need to download a wallet, insert some money into it, and start playing. It's really common. I've seen before people, it's really common within an industry called GameFi. It's a merge between gaming and finance. NFT tokens by itself can represent characters in a video game, and the children pay with it. And if the video game increases in value, there's you can create a scarcity of characters. Think of whatever video game you think, whatever car, Pokemon, whatever. Children pay with it. You create a scarcity of those tokens, of that digital animals or whatever is being on the game. They play with it because they have perks of playing with it. Maybe you need a character to play, or maybe you have a character really strong or with a cosmetic that all people want to. It will increase its value, and they can be changed between other tokens or cryptocurrencies by itself. And why not, if there's a secondary market that permits it, with fiat currencies? They can just sell it. As I say, they won't be able to buy a piece of home unless the company that is selling is really going against the law. Because in the current situation, I was going to say in the current meta, you are not allowed to buy a home if you are not either 18 or 21, depends on the country. If you are creating a company that is structured, that they follow the laws of the country that they have been made, if you have notaries, if you have real contracts below whatever technology you are using to make all of this, you cannot permit children to buy a token of a home. But maybe some countries. I know for sure that for here you cannot. But by buying tokens by itself, but playing with cryptocurrencies, teenagers, they are probably doing better than me if they start trading. They follow the trends better than anybody. They are being born within it. Right now there might be children using Bitcoin that were born after crypto was made. Yeah, making a number now. Yes, why? Yes, for sure. Yeah.
There's some kind of solutions in Mexico, for example, they're building lots of rooms.
Yes.
Maybe 15 people, 15 rooms can share a kitchen, and then they have toilets. It's like communal. Obviously, the prices are more cheap.
Yes.
So maybe they buy, I don't know, 20 meters square or smaller. And how can this be a reality? Is this a solution for people that can afford? Right? I mean, it's so you allow them to make it faster than normal paperwork.
I mean, this is not a solution for anybody. If you are below some line of income, if you are not allow yourself to invest little by little on something like this, I'm sorry, but this is not a solution for you. I mean,
should it be ongoing investment?
It could either be, yes, you can apply some methods like DCA, for example, the dollar cost average. You have an excellent of revenue every month that you know in what to invest. You can do it for here, on any other token, on any other book, any other asset actually. Like you can just buy SPY 500 if you want to, do a DCA every month and you invest into it. In the same regard, if you cannot afford rent by the end of the month, you cannot also invest in SPY 500. It's above your level. This could help people from middle classes or even not poor people. Something like this will be a scam for poor people. There are companies that are doing so right now that you can invest 100 euros and you own a property of a share of a property. Yes, but if the property is 100K, you will be the owner of 0.01% of that property. You don't have a voice on that matter. If it sells, if it doesn't sell, it's just grabbing money from retail investment that are not being done to be retail investment. That people in Mexico that you say, they are in a hard situations, something like this won't help them a lot. But I don't think of any solution that will help them to be truth. It's really hard.
I do have a question. Do you know about any loans powered by blockchain that will enable people to access sort of credit for them to be able to afford their home?
There is at least one in every network to loan money.
No, but you know about the everyday or one that you could mention as a use case?
I mean, you need to need your risk tolerance. I cannot come here and start saying, use this network or use this another one. It depends on which network do you trust. I used to myself to ask for some loans. The way it worked, both of them, is that I give some of blockchain as collateral, and then I ask for USDT or some stable coins. I have some, let's say, Bitcoin, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin at this price. So I use them as a collateral, I receive USDT, and once Bitcoin rise, I just return USDT, and my Bitcoins are back with me. You can do the same here, because I imagine something like this to be done in fiat currency, or at least on stable coins. I don't think somebody's going to invest one Bitcoin into this, because for that situation, you just buy the home using Bitcoin. In that regard, yes, you can use your blockchain as collateral and ask for USDT or whatever stable currency you are looking for. I cannot recommend anyone. I use one myself. One, I don't use them anymore. Once I still have, I don't want to say. They don't pay me. I don't know, getting free publicity. If they, no, I give you, I can legally advise. I don't care, but if they pay me, why I'm here. Exactly. No, I don't want to say it either. But I have one open at this point. But then again, you need to make a little investigation. It depends on which network do you want to use, which cryptocurrency do you want to sell a collateral, and check the interest. And see if it's a reliable source of money, because you need to trust not either the smart contract in this situation, but also the company that is emitting it. Like if they are minting some coins, if they have their own currencies, the payment delayment, how they execute if you don't pay, if you can add more collateral in order to not get liquidated. There's a lot of things to take into consideration.
It seems to be that there could be a potential for more democratic opportunities, like for a broader audience. But for now, for the state of crypto, I understand you really need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, just don't do something like that.
More than half of the people here are fiscal degenerates. Like they just buy and sell things. They don't take into consideration neither taxes, if it's legal, how they are going to return, if that's the case. Like most of the people just playing around like this is some kind of video game. Actually, it is not, and this is real money with real value and with real consequences in the real world. Yeah. As I say, if you want to take a loan, we can talk a little bit more in private. I can give you my situation. They don't sponsor me, so I won't say it in public. I'm being recorded right now too.
I always try to think for democratic opportunities for more people to get access to this sort of things that normally they wouldn't have access to.
I mean, I come from Argentina. For me, a democratic situation in this is that I wasn't allowed to buy more than $200 per month. Bueno, entendí. Me agarró el cepo. I started buying Bitcoin like that. The situation. For me, that was a democratic situation. Then you have more things to bring around, and we're doing in the hub actually converging to the idea of having a voice on the matters, to have your own opinion, and to vote in the things that you think you should be allowed to vote, for example. We are not offering any loans for the moment. Maybe in the future, if money comes.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
So you destroyed my dream of buying a house in Ibiza.
No, you can, but you are gentrifying the place, mate. You can do it. Or just buy a share of a home. We can do it. We can buy a share of the home.
How it works in the property register?
Sorry?
I don't see that. Registro de la propiedad.
Sí.
You know? How do you prove your ownership of the flat if you have a token instead of a script of the notary?
It can be done in two ways. It can be bought by a company by itself, and the home just will be part of a holding.
So you buy the share of a company, no, not flat.
Not a share of a company, because the company by itself could be a holding of houses, and you won't be a share owner of the whole holding by itself. Just a piece of it that the company can sell it as a service, for example. Or if there, it depends on the amount of people. If you want to sell $1,000 a token, yeah, you will need to sell 1,000 tokens for a home. If you are selling it, I'm buying a place in Sagunto for 50K, 5 people paying 5K. You can be that in the same legal contract as any contract by codomain. Just 5 people buying an equal shares of it. Yes. Anything related to real assets, especially real estate assets, they should be done by notary. You cannot escape it. You can even buy it with Bitcoin, as we talked before, but it should be recorded in a notary. If not, the ownership of the home won't be translated. Yes, you can use the usufructo, you can use the places and whatever, but it needs to be registered. Okay. Any more questions?
I know it's very general, very big, but give us an example of a price and process methodology to tokenize this kind of house.
I guess an NFT.
I mean, something, this asset.
No, I'm really blind. What I'm selling?
No, it's just to have an idea of it.
No, but I need to see what I'm selling. Pisadao.
Well, I mean, it's customized, but
No, but it's customized, so it has increased its value. For example, if someone is really interested in Pisadao, why not?
Each one is different, right? You cannot replicate it exactly. But anyways, that's just an example.
What's a process in order how to tokenize that? You have the piece, right? You have something. It's either a home, an IP, or whatever. You need to use some piece of data to register it. The biggest example is just the blockchain, because you already have the assets out of it. You have the transparency, you have the security out of it, you have the people using it, you have the methods of transactions, you have the ownership related to the wallet. You have a blockchain that gives you a lot of information of that asset by itself. The tokenization is just the representation of it. It doesn't have to be a blockchain. I say you can do that on an Excel form. You create the metadata within the blockchain. Let's keep on the blockchain. You create the data. This data says, this piece, that, is here, and is owned by this, and this person. And those persons have a fraction that represents the ownership of it. Those people might be or might not, but in most of the cases, they might be allowed to transfer it, to sell it, to donate it, to do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, but I think that in that case, in the cat houses that he has, I think the best way to do it is as an NFT.
That's it.
NFT, you put like a code bar or maybe an NFC into the house, and when you scan it, you know that that house is related to this NFT that is in this blockchain and that, and the price that you sold it.
You will upload that into OpenSea or?
Yes.
Whenever you want.
Camila.
Whatever you want.
Never heard of those. Well, yes. Yeah, you can even create your own marketplace if you want to. You can create your own website in which people can click there and mint a piece if you want to fractionalize even further. Or you just can translate it by talking orally, like we exchange messages, we see in person, I give you the money and you give me the token. You can use, that's the liberty that it gives to you. You can do a lot of things within it. You can create your own markets.
More kind of a methodology, but okay. You know, the theory is very nice.
Like a framework on a step-by-step.
The narrative is kind of like a proof of work, you know, this special, different, non-replicatable one, etc., etc. Oh, there is a process for it.
You can create your own framework. Yes, you can use the already established ones. You just mint a piece and you publish it. It's really that simple. If you want to do it simple, it's a couple of clicks. As we were talking, little children could do that. They are already being done in the GameFi industry with the video games. Some of the video games, they already created the market share in order to trade it, and you trade it like if you play any RPG, any video game in which you can trade resources with the other players. It's really that simple. It's just a couple of clicks. yes, some things will require more things below that. Real estate, for example, requires a lot of framework that is really hard, and I cannot explain the step by step in this moment. I don't know if maybe no.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Gracias, brother. Bueno, nos tomamos una foto.
Gracias.